just like a grown-up.
Okay, I have 6:30.
Watch me fall asleep at 8.
So we'll call the work session of the mayor and council for the city of Snellville, Georgia for January 14th, 2019 to order. The first meeting of 2019. We'll go through the regular business meeting first. Got the invocation with Josh Davis, Nigel McGee to say the pledge.
Yes.
Volunteer awards by Tourism and Trade. We've got the minutes. Report for Evermore CID. And then the DDA. Given a report.
To the DDA.
Tava
Or some
or someone.
alphabetical something.
Okay.
Are you alphabetical?
Yeah.
Oh, look at you.
City shirt.
Then we'll have the election for the mayor pro tem for this year. Tony will explain that process as part of the code. For the first reading for the alcoholic beverages, we've been asked to take that off the agenda, so we'll just need a motion to table that indefinitely. There's still got to be some negotiation back and forth.
Does that come when we approve the agenda?
I would say just still approve the agenda, correct me if I'm wrong, just approve the agenda, and then when we get to that item and it gets called up, then
Yeah,
we'll just make a motion to postpone.
table indefinitely.
Yeah, I'm sorry, table indefinitely. Then we have the community development block grant.
And you probably got way more information than you wanted on CDBG.
Only
But
54 pages.
the bottom line is, it is a grant consultant, Craig Goebel, who does a great job. He used to run the Gwinnett County program, and I'm recommending that we enter into a contract for next year with him. If anybody can get money out of the county, it should be a former director, so, it's $6,000.
Then we have awarding the bid for the John Deere,
Parks and Rec utility vehicle.
and that's in the budget.
I had a
Yes.
question about that. The amount that we're being asked to approve, $15,733.95, is different from the amount
bid.
that's on the bid.
Because we negotiated a price difference of $565 to get a diesel engine.
Okay.
And that is a big upgrade
Okay.
and a
Okay, I
ridiculously
just-
low price.
Just
Yeah,
wondered
that's
what the
what we're
difference
recommending.
was.
And the low bidder did not come close to meeting the specs.
Okay.
Okay, then we'll have, we've got the next two items, the acceptance of the resignation letter and then appointment for the mayor. We'll refer to Tony to explain what all the steps are, what the charter requires on those two items. Then item G is resolution 2019-01 for the qualifying fees for the 2019 general election. So I know there's just been confusion the last couple of weeks, but this is actually the qualifying fees for the November election. We do that at the first meeting, or it's done in January. I mean, we typically do the call.
February 1st.
Okay.
The qualifying.
And that's state statute.
Yeah.
We have to-
Right.
Yeah, I
Normal
mean, we've always
procedure.
called that in January for an election year.
Okay, and that election would be held,
November.
First Tuesday in November.
oh, that one, okay, yes,
November.
yes, okay, right. And if we have a special, well, that's the next item I was that's what I was really asking, when that would be if we have a special election,
If it's needed.
if it's needed, right,
Yeah, then it would be March 19th.
March.
And that's by state law as well.
Oh.
Okay. So then we go to the work session agenda. Any correspondence? City attorney's report?
We do. Chuck has got a report and some handouts on the billboard negotiations. They were, sometimes these things end up in litigation inside the executive session, but this one has been so cooperative by the property owners that are the billboard owners that we felt like it was an open discussion because they're agreeing to make some significant concessions and some progress. Yes, sir.
So what we discussed and what you've got in front of you, the first 2 pages just kind of are overviews, and the third page actually shows a listing of all the billboard sites in Snellville city limits. But if you'll turn to the 5th page, behind the signs to be removed completely, what we have preliminarily discussed were identifying some signs that Clear Channel would be willing to completely take down. And we say signs, we actually mean the entire structure. So in return for that, and we'll get to that in a minute, they would then ask to replace some of the existing, in kind of a one-for-one basis, the existing stationary, or what they call the trifolds boards with an electronic board, and I'll get to that. But the ones they've agreed preliminarily to take down, the first one is 2992 West Main. And the reason that one is really important to the city is that is the one that's right at the city gateway that's up. So you have this nice city gateway, and then you have a billboard right behind it. So that entire structure would come down completely. The other one that the Clear Channel has preliminarily agreed to is the one that's right at Mellow Mushroom. That's 2000 East Main Street. And again, what you're just seeing is you're seeing both sides of the sign at the time these were taken. They've probably changed a little bit by now. Austin, I believe, took these pictures for us some time ago. Now, we'd identified another sign. There's actually another billboard almost next door to that, which is by the used to be the Country Buffet or the Jane's Buffet. It's now Just Wings, I think. Now that one is actually, and that's the next page, it says removal dependent upon negotiation with multiple entities. Clear Channel has 6 of the total signs. But that particular sign, which is the 2054 East Main, is actually owned by a company called Outfront. And Outfront only has this one sign in Snellville, as does Lamar. And so what the attorneys are trying to do is to see if there's some type of negotiation and trading that can be done between Outfront and Lamar to maybe give Outfront a sign somewhere else in return, so that Clear Channel would be able to take down, or Lamar would then be able to
So that would be
pull down.
outside of the city limit, outside
Right, so
the
there's
city,
some
yeah.
horse trading, to
Right,
go around. So this is a little less for sure to happen, but that's our other goal we're still trying to negotiate. So now in return, there are signs, and the faces would be on, like I said, a one-for-one basis to be converted. The key one being the sign right there at the market on 124, which is 2007 Scenic Highway. And that is already a multi-flip, multi-message sign. The one thing that they have agreed to do is, besides making an electronic board, but would be to change the design of the sign itself to be what they call a flag design, which would allow the post, and there's actually, there's an example of a flag, is one of the 2000 Main Street sign is what they call a flag. You see the post is on one end, and that allows them to sit it back a little further and to not quite be as obtrusive as it is. So that would be the first sign they'd want to change, and then the other is the one that's located right across from the East Side's old campus, right there at Gwinnett Clinic on 78. Now what they would preliminarily, they would only, and you see where I said this side only, they would be only fitting that one side with an electronic board, but they would reserve the option to convert what's now the east side with the countdown timer on it. And what we talked about as far as messages is that, and there's a sample kind of what the electronic boards will look like on the back page. But what they would be willing to do is to give us a period of time, anytime there's a vacancy on the sign, they would give us a slot for that vacancy that we could advertise the farmer's market, the 4th of July festival, different time, as long as it's not for a business, obviously, since they would rather sell that space to a business, but anything for the city. And they would give us a guarantee of so many times. The language that Scott gave me, the attorney gave me today, was that we would have 2-week slots at least 4 times a year as a minimum time. And the other thing that's kind of a neat idea that they just brought up on their own would be to give us actual, since we're giving them the electronic artwork, we might actually be able to get some slots on 85, advertising or some other areas that we typically wouldn't have, any advertising in, but they would be able to do that because we're now set up on that system.
And if they had vacancies in some of those other boards, they could flash the message up there during the.
That's great.
Also, they'll automatically, I think by law, they'll provide the Amber Alerts, the GEMA, FEMA alerts, those type of things, where if there's some type of emergency, those will come up as well. And then also, I think Roger had brought this up at one time, but was talking about the lighting and the intensity of the lighting, and we'll be able to adjust those to our ordinance and our standards. Jason and I talked a little bit with them about that as well. So they won't be just like blaring bright, all the time, but.
And he said the boards actually, the brightness of the lights change according to the ambient lighting as well. So it's not just set at one point in the day and it's the same all day long.
Right.
At night, when it
Varies.
gets darker, then the lights dim because they don't need it so bright. And then during the day, they
Would you repeat once more how often those ads for our city events would, I
Well,
mean, I
there's-
know it depends if they have,
Right,
they
what-
don't have a paid advertiser.
Right, so they would give us a guaranteed minimum, and we actually haven't pinned anything down for sure. He sent me today just some samples that they had done. I think Douglasville was one they had done a settlement with, and in their settlement was that they would give them, they call them slots, but a 2-week slot, which means, when we rotate through every 90 seconds or whatever, I would do that straight for 2 weeks, 4 times a year at a minimum. And then whenever they have vacancies, and he actually told us that they typically have vacancies on some of their signs, then we would also get the benefit of those as well. But that way we at least have a guaranteed minimum. Now, we probably wouldn't necessarily be guaranteed that we were gonna have a slot for 4th of July, or that we were gonna have a slot for, different events, the tree lighting, but, we at least would have advertising.
And one reason to have the discussion is to get input from you guys. So if there was a
Exactly.
targeted time period where a slot was essential to our nonprofits, to know that and put it in and negotiate for it is the feedback we need to get from you guys.
And also, for the other 2 signs that wouldn't be upgraded, they would agree to go ahead and paint and clean them up. Because they're all, I think all the posts and everything are really old and they're rusty looking, so they'll come through and paint them all. I mean, it was really a great meeting. It was very agreeable and,
Is that an example of their flag?
No, that is not an example of their
Okay,
flag. I just,
okay, so
they
they
didn't
do
provide,
that.
that's the
That's
example
it.
of the flag.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
I just wanted to pull an electronic board doing
Yeah.
community,
Okay.
issues. I think that's in Japan, actually, I'm not sure. So, does anyone have any other questions? Does everyone want us to keep moving forward with the negotiations and try to make that
Yes,
happen?
yes.
Okay.
Thank you for such a positive effort.
thank you, Chuck. Did a little bit of work there to beautify the city. Okay, now on to that was it for the
It is,
attorneys?
that's the report.
And we do need exec session.
Yes, ma'am. In what I think is every area too.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what we're gonna do, I requested to make sure that we're done here by about 7:20, so everybody can get ready and we start the meeting on time. So if we have to run over a little, we might have to come back after the meeting for finish exec session. For the chamber dinner, Butch?
For the meetings, the chamber dinner, February 1, I have Christie, Dave, Gretchen, and Barbara.
No
Me too.
chamber?
Me too, and Brittany for that one.
The,
Chamber dinner,
the February 1st?
whichever is chamber dinner. I don't know what day that is.
Yeah. that's
February
February.
1st,
Yes.
6 to 9.
Okay.
And then state of the county, just
Friday.
me.
State of the county, no?
Just me.
Okay.
And then who do you have for the county?
I have Dave, Barbara, Eric, myself, Roger.
Okay.
Okay?
Project update?
We have probably noticed, we have gone ahead and adjusted our project update list based on the discussion at the planning retreat. And so we've added a trade center item, town center item, divided it up into different categories. Finance and property, where we do need a short discussion in executive session. Budget and the docks are being updated in that area. When I say docks, I mean development agreement, where we are looking at their last submittal to Tony and Chuck and Blake. Town center plan and design work. Had great meetings recently with the county. We've got them moving in the right direction. TSW has been very good as far as the library design is concerned. And I've also added, instead of leaving it under an old category, we've received a quote for an estimate for the city hall build out. And I will pass those out to everybody. Pass those around. And it sounds pretty accurate. He's estimating $85 to $95 a foot. So based on the square footage in the upstairs quarter of the building, it would be somewhere in the neighborhood of $265,000 to $297,000. I need you guys to be thinking about that, and we'll talk more about this. But we need to be moving on if that is something that's acceptable.
And then, do we have any kind of preliminary plans, or
We do.
can you send those out too?
I can send those out, yes. And then, to stay on the tighter schedule, I guess I would edit Chris's comment a little bit. He said he could advertise this week and get back information then on the bids by February 12th, because we're trying to meet.
Maybe we'll have Paul come to the next meeting,
Do that?
Okay.
but I wanted to get that in everybody's hands.
Yep.
Just know that that's another area moving on. And then we have town center zoning and area development. I had a chance to talk with Jason a little bit, and the planning staff knows the importance you've placed on incorporating the town center area into the UDO discussion. And the UDO itself, a couple items down, we're waiting on Pond, who is a member of the team doing the UDO, a partner with TSW, to finish the stormwater section. And we're going to be working on all the sections as time goes on, but it looks like it's going to be at least April for adoption, because it's going to be March before Ponds finishes their stormwater section. So we're that's moving on, but it looks like April. I've also combined under city marketing, PIO, STAT, Explore Gwinnett, and the hotel motel tax. We've had a very good meeting, original meeting, organizational meeting with Explore Gwinnett. Another meeting is scheduled this Friday, I hope, where Kelly will be in attendance, and we'll talk with their marketing director. So we're off to a good start in that area. We talked about the UDO. roundabout, I mean, they're just waiting on good weather so they can strike and finish the Fars and North. Still planning on advertising Fars and Ridgedale later this month. 78 and 124. Eric and Brian have started a real outreach effort to the businesses that have been hurt in the area. We're going to be putting up a sign that we're taking care of to let people know that they're open up in the northwest corner of the project. Those people have been hit pretty hard there. I think they've accepted our overtures very positively, and hopefully things get better up there. And the Clower Lane closure that we had talked about that was going to be for 90 days or so has been avoided. They found another way to do that pond and build that wall in there, so that lane will not be closed for that length of time. SDS negotiations, really not a lot to update anybody on. Hopefully we'll hear more from GWMA shortly. The SPLOS program county audit review is not complete yet. We should have that soon, and then I'll give you a full update there. Budget and planning, had a chance to talk to Gabby, our HR director, about the salary reviews that we have talked about, and those will be included in the FY20 budget work, which are both underway. Comp plan progress, it's a lot of progress, we're done. Approved by DCA and the state, so we will, I think it's an excellent document. Once again, the planning staff did a great job working
Well,
with
that's not like complete, right? We
You
still
can
have,
still submit comments by
Yeah, but
25th.
25th.
The state is done with us, so
Okay.
local changes are fine.
okay,
And we need to get those all in, so if anybody has any, so we can sit down with Jacobs and implement them.
I have a few minor things. I haven't been all through the goals and that part yet.
Yeah, pay attention to some of those housing specifically and see if we want to add anything.
But for council too, if you guys can dig into that, really take a look at that, because the goals and the implementation program is what we may even consider creating a committee to push forward some of that stuff to get implemented, so.
ordinance development, like we talked about at the retreat, urban agriculture we're working on, and several planning issues which we'll discuss in executive session also.
All right, any other questions there? Okay, with that, during the work session of the mayor and city council of Snellville, Georgia, Mayor Pro Tem Bender announced that certain matters should be discussed in a closed session of the meeting and asked council to advise the city with respect to closing meetings.